activity in the kitchen as I go live tonight. Young Mr. Angry, so I'm a bit late. Off young people shenanigans, no doubt. Cooking a pizza. That gem of the supermarket, Dr. Oetker, which was the news was broken to me the other day that it's Nazi pizza. I don't know how true that is, but someone posted it was like from Wikipedia or something that said Dr. Oetker was in the Nazi party. So I'm eating Nazi pizza, which is, less than optimal, but what are you going to do? And hello, Fox. And yes, God, London Bridge is falling down. Bloody English economy stands a very high chance of falling down. Wrestling Days, Big Pat, happy birthday, big guy. And Natalie, hello to you. So, yes. Strange times in the UK. Okay, yes. That I believe is the official summary of the political situation in England. It's all fucked. I was reading up a bit on, pundits, although I truly doubt anyone's ability to accurately predict anything that's going to happen. But pundits speculating on why is Boris Johnson doing what he's doing? And there seems to be a common theory that old BJ is attempting a bluff, like acting so crazy the EU will back down because, oh no, he's crazy, he's really going to do it. And I don't know that that's going to work. Good night, Philian Sela and Miss Fox Vacation. So the idea is that Johnson's playing brinksmanship. He's basically playing like the I'll do it, I'm crazy, because a no-deal Brexit would almost certainly devastate the English economy. You'd end up with rationing of almost everything, and then a cascading economic catastrophe would spread out among Europe and then, the rest of the world. There's that. It's like the idea is that Johnson thinks, oh, look, Mimsy's come to say hello. I should adjust so we can see Her Royal Highness. You want to come down here and I can scratch you? You're too far away up there. Yeah, that's more like it. That's what she wants. She wants some attention. Just like Boris Johnson wants some attention. Yes, she does. Yes, so there's this theory that Johnson's trying to act crazy because a no-deal Brexit would be so catastrophic. It would hurt Europe as well. It would probably send the entire world into recession. It would probably be catastrophic. But by far the absolute worst blow would be on England itself. The rationing of everything, food, medical supplies, body bags, and whatnot. So, so the idea is he thinks he can scare... I'm sorry, she's headbutting me because I stopped scratching her. He thinks he can scare the EU into offering him a better deal because he's good. I don't care, I'll do no deal Brexit. But it is absolutely not in the EU's interest to bow to that. And of course, hilariously, because he went to the Queen and said, I want you to suspend Parliament when it should be sitting. Last person to do that, King James, started the English Civil War, resulted in King James being executed. So nice precedent, Boris. So getting the Queen involved in politics stands a very high chance of backfiring on him. Because it's funny now, if other key people, like now want an audience with the Queen to basically say there's no confidence in Boris and they want to form an alternative government. If the Queen refuses to meet them. That's a political act, but also she agrees to meet them. It's a political act. So Boris Johnson is basically playing an extraordinarily high-risk game. And it's like he literally doesn't fucking care who gets hurt in the process. Because I think all he's seeing is, but if it works, I will be the biggest hero. And that is right. If it worked, if his high-risk maneuver ended up in the EU offering a better deal to England, then he'd be the big old hero. But that's the least likely scenario. The more likely scenarios are something, well, a catastrophic no-deal Brexit, or a vote of no confidence in him, which forces a general election before the Brexit date, and maybe the EU goes, you know what, okay, you're having a general election, we'll wait and see what happens, and if Boris wins and still refuses to budge, then fuck you, it's going to be a no-deal Brexit. If someone else is on top, then maybe we'll have another round of negotiations. We'll delay the actual Brexit date. And hi, Facts Over Feels, how are you going? And Nug, hello to you. And we see the ever-demanding Mimsy.
Sure, so much attention. Yes, it does.
Oh, yes, feelings here. That's one of the things that is meant to indicate Johnson's serious about a no-deal Brexit. He's had private talks with Trump about having favourable trade deal with the US to lessen the blow of having no trade deal with Europe. Also, absolutely disastrous for England. It would be the complete privatisation and destruction of the welfare state. The NHS will be destroyed. The American private insurers would have open slather in the UK market. It would be an absolute fucking disaster for the majority of people in the UK. In fact, if he's Johnson's mad, I think he's certainly unbalanced. Well, Mimsy, Natalie thinks you're sweet. She's walking, she's here now, walking across my lap for some reason. You're going to sit there, are you? Out of camera. British Civil War 2. Yeah, I actually did a really quick read up on the Civil War that the last suspension started. And it dragged on for a while, and there was actually arguably 3 separate civil wars. They all sort of knocked on from one another, but there were arguably 3 separate civil wars over about a 10-year period. But yes, good point, Keiko. The damage to the UK wouldn't be limited to England. God knows what reaction there'd be in Scotland. But of course, there's the trouble with Northern Ireland. Republic of Ireland is an independent country and is a member of the EU and will stay in the EU no matter what happens with the UK. But Northern Ireland is still annexed by England, claimed by England, and so it's part of the UK. So if there was Brexit happens, there's a very complicated logistical issue there, and there's a suggestion of a return to a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which was a flashpoint for the Troubles for so many years. And so there would almost definitely be a spike in violence in Ireland and Northern Ireland. Mind you, I was just reading, there's been a spike in violence in Northern Ireland recently anyway, which, with the world being what it is, has been getting virtually no coverage, which is a little disturbing. that the world is so fucked, a sudden spike in sectarian violence in Northern Ireland doesn't even feature in the news. Yikes. CrossFitter, you think the UK population should be like Hong Kong, hit the streets? Well, we still don't know that how things are going to work out in Hong Kong, because speaking of high risk ventures, honestly it seems like there's a limited amount of time until China does something very severe in retaliation to the protesters. And the protesters basically make no sign they're backing down. Yeah, and I see what you're saying, Keiko. There are already people protesting outside Parliament in London. It's a question of how many people protest, because of course there were very vocal Brexit supporters, and I suspect the more extreme Brexit supporters, the ones who haven't really thought it through and don't really understand what's involved, I suspect they will really like what Boris Johnson is doing, because he's being tough. He's standing up to the Europeans. Yes, England for English. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I suspect they will like Johnson's extreme behavior, because they'll regard that as strong, not stupid. So yeah, that's a thing that could happen. You could get quite severe clashes in the streets with pro and anti-Brexit. But I mean, it's like, okay, so the Parliament sits for a couple of days next week before the suspension Johnson put in place comes into effect. It is, I looked it up, it's technically possible for a motion of no confidence to be passed in him before Parliament's suspended, and there's just enough time to go through the process of having a general election before the Brexit date, which is Halloween, October 31st. Ooh, spooky in England. But that's actually quite an extreme outcome, a vote of no confidence in the government, and having an election and potentially changing government. That's this mysterious stranger going through the kitchen. It's basically Johnson's actions are quite extreme. So literally anything that happens from here is quite extreme. So it's somewhat fascinating to see what happens. Ashoka, you say Johnson can be blocked. I'm intrigued what you mean by that. Ms. Fox-Casey, Corbyn's going hard with the no confidence vote. What, I mean, why wouldn't he? Because on top of everything else, now with Johnson being such a colossal dick, if they called a general election, if Labor and the Lib Dems were at all smart, they would run an incredibly aggressive scare campaign and run the Tories out of office. Ashoka, I kind of think you're missing the point. You're saying it doesn't have to be a no confidence. They could block a bill. There's no bill, dude. There's no bill. If the government doesn't do anything by October 31st, that's it. Hard Brexit, no deal. So I think you're missing a really fundamental point there. No, I think you're right. The Lib Dems and Labor are probably going to have a bit of a kerfuffle. I mean, in some of the recent local elections, the Lib Dems did really bad and the Lib Dems did really well. Labor did pretty ordinary, and the Tories did really bad. Absolutely right, Miss Foxification. Butters straight up violated democracy. And because the Tories are a minority, technically he could lose a no confidence vote, even if no Tories vote against him. But there's a reasonably solid chance a chunk of Tories would vote a no confidence motion against him. But yeah, it's going to be pretty goddamn volatile, say, next week and possibly the week after. And honestly, if the way I read it, if there's a no confidence vote, apparently there's a rule where the government has 14 days to, I don't know, pitch whatever to try and convince people, okay, we get it, you don't like us, we can turn it around. And if after those 14 days, everyone still goes, no, fuck you, you're useless, you're out, then the government's dissolved. And I mean, anything could happen. People, it doesn't necessarily mean another election. People could propose an alternative government. And that seems unlikely that someone would agree to an alternative government. I see, Ashoka, it's two different things. The whole, Brexit is going to happen. That's already happened. It's just that no one's agreed to a deal. And the EU has said, you know what, fuck this nonsense. And they've already extended the deadline once, but the current deadline is October 31st. And the EU said, hey, you know what, UK, if you haven't sorted your shit out by October 31st, fuck it, that's it. It's just done. It's a no deal, hard Brexit. So England is left with no trade agreement with anyone in the European Union, which is pretty bad. Yes. Yeah. Music Live. This is a Jar Jar Binks moment. Mr. Pepper's the Senate can say immediate emergency powers to the Supreme Chancellor. Oh wow. Gosh, Keiko, you've set yourself a real challenge doing a PhD thesis on Brexit and English nationalism. I'm not surprised you have to tear it up and start again every other week. Yeah, so for the question of the Queen overriding Brexit, the Queen has particular powers. That's why the official thing is Boris Johnson didn't suspend Parliament. Boris Johnson went to the Queen and said, I want you to suspend Parliament. That's the weird way the rules work. I believe technically the Queen could try and do something against the will of the government, but that's a really, really radical move. Like the Queen can say, I no longer have confidence in the Prime Minister and invite someone else to form a government. She won't. She'll more wait for it the other way, for the Parliament to vote no confidence in Butters and then wait for someone to come to her either after a general election or to form an interim government. So basically, Johnson has put the Queen in a really awkward position. And if it comes to a general election, that could work very badly against him. If people perceive him to have politicized the Queen, that could work very much against him. Where's Philip in his Range Rover when you need him? Probably wrapped around a tree somewhere, honestly. And look, I actually agree with you. What the history books will say about the complete an utter fucking disaster, and the complete inability to do anything with Brexit. I mean, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic that they have been completely incapable of actually coming up with a way to make it happen. Uh, God, how they get away with this shit, with this level of incompetence, will always amaze me. It just stuns me that that level of incompetence can happen with no punishment, with no repercussions. It's wild. Okay. Oh, yes, a slight pivot, but still talking about the royal family. They're probably more worried about Randy Andy, Prince Andrew, being caught up with the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein sex scandal. Because he was absolutely fucking there. And he's like all these other ones who are involved with Epstein coming up with these bullshit denials that um, I didn't know about it. It's bullshit. Everyone knew, and he was an active part of it. Absolutely. Shoka, what happens to Scotland in hard Brexit? Scotland is part of the UK, so Scotland goes down the toilet with England. Technically, yeah, no, you're saying they hit the ejector button. Technically, it might be enough of a palaver to push an independence vote in Scotland, which of course is going to put the wind right up fucking England as well. Like basically this whole Brexit shit show stands a chance of being the worst fucking catastrophe since World War II, basically. Yes, you're right, Keiko. Scotland does have their own parliament, but they're part of the UK, which means they're basically under the control of England. But a big shit show might push an actual independence vote, withdraw from the United Kingdom, and an independent Scotland, my brave homeland. But like I said, anything could happen. Yes, that's another point, Fox. Boris isn't even his real name. Was it Alexander Pfeiffer Johnson? And I think either he was born in Turkey or his parents were. I think he might have been born in Turkey. But yeah, his family, he's got just a history of colonialists in his family, which is hardly surprising. Yes, it's an interesting view to have, Felix, that in 50 years, imagine all the docos from this period of history about Trump and Brexit and just the rise of fascists around the world. Yeah. Okay, you looked it up. Butters was actually born in America. There you go. There you go. I just remember him having a family history with Turkey. I knew he wasn't born in England. So I wasn't sure where he was born. So England obviously has a very different constitution to the United States. Because yes, it's in the Constitution of the United States. Only a natural born citizen can run for president. A foreign born person can also be Prime Minister in Australia. There is this weird thing where you have to repudiate foreign allegiance that recently, just in the last 5 years, people worked out the parliament was full of people who hadn't met these vague requirements properly. So it was like more than a dozen people had to resign their seats in parliament, forcing by-elections. Oh my God, it was a shit show. This thing. I like that. He's declared a veteran. World War II, UK and USA were fighting Nazi Germany. World War III, Germany and Italy are fighting Nazi UK and USA. Yeah, yes. It's really disturbing. Oh my God. I've been listening to a lot to this podcast called Behind the Bastards. I'm sure I've mentioned it in recent live streams. So I asked on social media a while ago, a month ago, for recommendations, and people sent me a bunch of recommendations. A lot of them good, but the one that really grabbed me was Behind the Bastards. This guy, he's a journalist, and he researches famous bastards of history, but tries to find out bits of their story that you probably don't know. And it's been, I don't know, it's been running for a couple of years, I think, and does an episode a week. So there's lots of episodes on there. And you can find some quite fascinating things. And just now, the ones he's uploading now-ish, last 2 months, he did a fundraiser, a GoFundMe a couple months ago to write an ebook. It's basically a book on, in simple terms, the history of fascism in America. And so there was an ebook that he produced as a result of this GoFundMe, and now he's been doing it on the podcast as well. And hello, Justin, as an aside. And it's a 7-part podcast. Each one episode's about an hour long. He's there with a couple of comedians talking about it and whatnot. And it is fascinating. It is absolutely worth a listen, or buy the ebook and read the ebook. He's done a lot of research, and just seeing just how bad fascism in America has been and is still, and how I thought I was really, really aware of it. But with his research, my God, it's like, okay, I kind of knew all this stuff, but actually getting it all laid out, it's absolutely wild how entrenched fascism is in the US. And yes, Justin, the title of the stream is referring to Boris Johnson suspending Parliament and the shit show that's likely to happen in the next couple of weeks, possibly culminating in a disastrous no-deal Brexit. So, KK, did I see your interview with Boris where he rambled on and on about his weird... Oh, yes, the model buses. Yes. Yes. John Oliver did a really good deconstruction of Boris Johnson and how his whole buffoon act is just that. It's an act. He misdirects people by literally behaving like a clown. And so no one focuses on like, wait, no. You're really, really racist. And you're also really, really incompetent, because everyone just ends up talking about his wacky behavior, and he does it on purpose. It is really worth looking up the John Oliver Last Week Tonight episode. Are you making it look difficult to cut pizza? Is that what's happening there?
No, you're making fun of me.
No, I am now. Don't cut anything. Oh, God, no. Now I've jinxed him. Young Mr. Angry is cutting pizza. And I shouldn't have said that thing about cutting fingers off, because... Did you want me to cut the pizza, or I'll go around and cut the pizza?
No.
No.
I am a strong, independent woman that can cut my own pizza.
Yeah, you're probably stronger than me, quite honestly. Plus, you've been doing that hospitality course. You should be pretty good at the old food service thing.
That is delivering food to tables as opposed to cutting pizzas.
All right, so you don't actually do any kitchen stuff?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
But if you want a pizza delivered to a table, I can do that.
No, you want the pineapples on the pizza? No, I think it's it was originally a 4-cheese pizza, and then you put some extra cheese from a different packet of different 4-cheese pizza. So, okay, see?
No, it's just grease.
It's just grease. I thought it was blood everywhere. It's grease everywhere.
Blood everywhere.
So it's an 8 cheese pizza, actually. And I think I will steal a piece of it. Are you going to eat an entire pizza? I know you're a hungry, growing lad, but I think even you would eat a whole pizza. Justin, that is actually an interesting little side point. If Brexit does lead to a breakup of the UK, which is a very real possibility, what do you then do about the Australian flag, which has the Union Jack on it? Yeah, I think it might be we might be back to having a push for a republic if England just collapses into a constitutional crisis. The republic people might see an opportunity to strike. So, but anything could happen. Nothing good, basically. But I mean, who knows what will happen? Like I said, it could be sudden vote of no confidence in Johnson and general election. Maybe Labor win. Maybe a Labor Lib Dem coalition is formed, and maybe they say, Vogt, we need to completely revisit Brexit because literally everything about the Brexit campaign and the Brexit vote was a fucking sham. The pro-Brexit crowd lied non-stop to the public. And what's worse, they clearly never expected the vote to get up because they didn't have the beginnings of a plan to actually have an orderly Brexit. It's ridiculous. After all these years, they've not even come close. And that's the real kicker. That just really, really highlights how dishonest they are, because they shamelessly lied because they never expected to have to answer for any of it because they never expected the vote to get up. And so now we're in this ridiculous fucking situation, and who knows what's going to happen? Because it's like a lot of people have done very good metaphors for it, and someone going like, we really need to, essentially reassess Brexit because, yes, you can argue that the poll for Brexit marginally went in the favour of Brexit. But for instance, let's say I went to a cafe and my main choices were fish and chips and a burger, and I very narrowly decided to have fish and chips. And 3 hours later, I still haven't been given everything. And there's nothing but screaming and flames in the kitchen. And people keep throwing things at me saying, there's your fish and chips. And none of it has been fish and chips. And I'd like to actually reconsider now, and maybe I'll have a burger. Given that the people who promised me the fish and chips are now clearly 100% incapable of giving me fish and chips, I should have the opportunity to reassess my choice. And when you look at what happened, and again, oh God, I'm so wary of predicting things because the world is so fucking weird and wild shit keeps happening all the time. But I actually feel mildly confident in saying if there were a second Brexit vote held now, given the shit show that's happened up to this point, given that all the pro-Brexit public faces have been shown to be absolute liars, I think it wouldn't even be close. I think that no Brexit vote would just smash it. Say that with a great big asterisk next to it that the world is so weird, nothing makes sense. But if I was pretending the world makes sense, I think that would be it. Kenny, Britain wants their empire back. There is certainly seems to be a lot of people in Britain who miss the idea of a British empire. You know what? I'm having a piece of pizza because it's just here and it's driving me crazy. Ugh. All right. Apparently, one of the grosser things to see on video is somebody eating. You're going to see it. I'm going to eat a pizza now. I should do dainty little bites. Oh my God, that's good. Oh yeah, Keiko, I think basic common sense suggests if there were another vote, the Remain vote would be absolutely decisive. Oh, Miss Fox, actually not here. There's a little bit of ASMR with eating. What's the misophonia? That's having a really extreme negative reaction to the sound of someone eating, or just to a sound in general. I think that's the term, misophonia. So I'll take little bites. If anyone's listening in headphones, that's probably really gross. Hearing my munching noises in headphones. Feeling I'm cruel for eating. It is really good pizza. Supermarket pizza. Gotta love it. That's a unique form of misophonia, misfoxification. When you hear scummo, makes you want to punch baby. I know, Charlie. Everyone's got misophonia, and I'm eating pizza on the stream. I know, so weird. Oh, Keiko, something from your research. It's not that people miss empire, it's that most are completely ignorant about the empire and the violence of British nationalism history. Yeah, but that's also not limited to Britain. It's like everyone has this massive blind spot of the brutality of their history. It's, well, we say, Keiko, the reality of the British Empire is completely neglected from British education. Yeah. Colonial records are being burned en masse to keep the truth from British people. Oh, yeah, what? I mean, the British Empire only killed, I was going to say millions, and then I was going to change it to tens of millions, but it's probably even more than that. When you look at the number of people that were killed in Ireland, India, various parts of Africa, Australia, although it wasn't such a dense population, so they probably only killed hundreds of thousands in Australia. But yes, the death toll of the British Empire is pretty severe. Justin, I get what you're saying when you say the Germans don't shy away from their brutal history. You're thinking of their recent history, because a lot of people in Germany have decided it was quite important to be open about the horrors of the Nazis. But Germany, like everyone else, centuries before that, lots of violence and death and mayhem that people are completely oblivious to. Plus, there are quite a lot of people in Germany who definitely want to deny the horrors of the Nazis. Feeling so when I say misophonia, you thought of quadrophenia. For those who don't know, Quadrophenia is a film produced by The Who, a dramatisation of a conflict between mods and rockers around Brighton in England in the 60s. 50s or 60s. Broadly, a quite good film. Oh my God, no, Japan has that problem big time. You're right. Japan never did what Germany did with the acceptance of the horrors. Japan is still run by nationalists who fucking revere the war criminals of World War II and treat them as heroes. Yes, Costa. Sting was a featured role in Quadrophenia. Okay, go. Brighton's your hometown. Yes, Quadrophenia is the 60s. Ah, yes, Ashoka. Yes, what do they call mukbang in South Korea? It's a very popular thing for people to eat big meals on camera. That was a weird thing when that came. That came like about 5 years ago. That was a big thing. And culturally, I think the idea was a lot of people in South Korea felt very isolated. And if there was someone who they found nice and pleasing eating a meal, they could pretend they were like sharing the meal with that person. But it's huge. Like some of these people who are just eating meals get millions of viewers, and they make thousands of dollars a month just by eating. Oh yes, Charlie, Bellboy. The resolution that Sting is not the hard case that the young mod thinks he is. I just knew from Brighton, Victoria. I'm in the general neighbourhood of Brighton these days. Ah, Fox, yes. Good question. A cocktail in the second half, because the fucking nuclear hurricane was a huge win. That was a very good one. I really like that. I was thinking, could I come up with something that's themed on, civil war or suspension of parliament? A variant of the sidecar. Sidecar is one of my favourite cocktails, actually. Of the classics, my two favourite cocktails are the sidecar and the whiskey sour. So I'm a big fan of the side, and they're both really, well, comparatively simple cocktails. A sidecar is just, in my case, I'd make it with cognac and Cointreau and lemon juice. Cognac, you can use brandy. In fact, I used to always make it with brandy. I've got some cognac up there. Brandy is, of course, cheaper than brandy's cheaper than cognac generally, and I use Cointreau, which is actually among the more expensive orange liqueurs. Often people use triple sec, which is cheaper, and there's a few other orange liqueurs. So it's basically brandy or cognac with an orange liqueur and lemon juice. That's a sidecar. It's a really nice drink. And a whiskey sour is just whiskey. Bourbon or rye whiskey are the most common, but you can make it with Scotch. You can make it with Irish whiskey or Canadian whiskey if you wanted. But it's whiskey, lemon juice. And now there is a little bit of variance with whiskey sours. I do it whiskey, lemon juice, egg white, you get the frothy thing, and a bit of sugar syrup. Not everyone does it with egg white, and not everyone does it with sugar syrup. So some people you might get it's whiskey and lemon juice and egg white, and some might do whiskey, egg white, and sugar syrup. I like to do the whole thing. Yes. It's Keiko, funny story. You're in a restaurant. Way to come up. Said you were opposite the street where the two leads shagged in Quadrophenia, and you had children with us. The story went on forever. Oh my God. Yes, Fila and Zila, bombing the hurricane with a nuke is a terrible idea, but it led to the cocktail, the nuclear hurricane, which was really good, which was basically a hurricane with a hurricane's a traditional what do you call it, tiki cocktail, with like rum and some fruit juices, and I kind of swapped the juices a bit, and then I added my blue absinthe. That was the nuclear touch, and it was really good. Misboxification, suspension with leather and straps. Oh yes, I know someone in England who does that. She's actually an Australian lady who specialises in the let's see, corrective therapy for wayward gentlemen in England, which I find just hilarious. Fox, you reckon I should do a sidecar with absinthe? That's a pretty good idea. I'm having another piece of pizza because it's so good. Oh, why does pizza taste so good? I don't know. But it does. I would normally put a few toppings on this. Like, I like to get a base frozen pizza from the supermarket, and it's usually just a cheese one, preferably multi-cheese. This one, Dr. Oetker 4-cheese one. They also do one with spinach, which is really nice. I normally put some more toppings, depending who's there. You know, it might be as simple as put some bacon on it and then some extra cheese. But I do where I like fry up some onion and capsicum and mushroom with garlic, and then put that on, and then put more cheese on. Oh, it's yummy, so yummy. That's it, Charlie, because it's fatty. That's why it tastes good. And I just thought of a couple of crass lines to say about that, and I won't. No, you want pizza or calzone? Oh my God, there's a place just up the road that does a calzone that, besides the normal cheese and tomato sauce, it has feta cheese and garlic in it. Fucking hell, it's good. It is really good. I might get it on the weekend. I normally try and limit takeaway to maybe once a week. I don't know now, because it always gets to some stage in the week where young Mr. Angry goes, I'm about to get something ready for dinner, and he's kind of like, can you get burgers? Because there's a couple of really good burger places in this neighborhood. I mean, really good. And so I'll do that. But now I think, because he was in late, because he's been going to his course and then hanging out with some friends afterwards, and he said he's doing that again tomorrow. And he has something on the weekend as well, because he's at uni and he's like in a electronic gaming, esports club. And he said they're doing stuff this weekend. He's going to be busy all weekend with that. I don't know if he's ever going to be home for dinner for the next couple of days. He's the one who normally goes, no, can we get some burgers, take away? We'll see. Maybe I'll do it. You like souvlaki pizza, Miss Oxcation? That does sound good. Yeah, there's a really, well, the one that does the calzone is just up the road, like, I don't know, 500 meters, a kilometer up the road, in the main sort of strip of shops in this suburb. But there's another one that's like just around the corner from me. It's only half the distance. Oh God, they make good pizza. But the other one does this really good calzone. This is like, one does better pizza, but this other one has this specialty calzone that's really good. But again, the spoiled is like within 2 suburbs of here, there's like 6 specialty burger places, and they all do really good burgers. So really spoiled. Crust. You like a chicken pesto from Crust, Miss Fox Vacation? That does sound good. Feeling so, yeah. Friday night's takeaway night. That just seems right. But yeah, Friday night or the weekend, I don't know. Fox, is it from La Porchetta? No, but I have had good calzone at La Porchetta. La Porchetta, more than a front for laundering mafia money, although primarily a front for laundering mafia money. I think it's funny when you find that out. Like, it gets fucking mentioned in a royal commission, like, oh yeah, La Porchetta is just a front for laundering mob money. And it's like, okay. Oh, I thought they were a reasonably successful pizza chain, but it's really like it's a front for laundering mob money. Well, fair enough then. Sure. That's such a stereotype that the local Italian mob came up with a chain of pizza places to launder money through. I think that's fucking hilarious, quite honestly. Bit of a stereotype, but very funny. Yes. Okay, do you know what's gone out of fashion? Fucking halal snack packs. I feel like they've had their day. No one talks about halal snack packs anymore. You still get them in lots of places, and I still think they're good. I haven't had one in ages. Again, young Mr. Angry used to, on the regular, like at least once a week, ask me to get a halal snack pack, and he hasn't asked for one for ages. I wonder how long it is since we had one? A month or two since we've had one? He used to ask for them all the time, but I think they go through phases. Like, a few years ago when they were younger, the thing they always wanted me to get was chicken and chips, like a charcoal chicken, rotisserie chicken, and chips. They always wanted me to get chicken and chips, but they never ask for that anymore. Like 5 years ago, they would ask for chicken and chips all the time. And admittedly, where we used to live, there was a particularly good place. In the local shops, there's a place that did particularly good charcoal chicken. But yeah, it's just like at a certain point, oh wait, they never ask for chicken and chips anymore. Fashion, it changes. You think? Yeah, and then I say, like young Mr. Angry used to always ask for halal snack packs, and he hardly ever does now. Now it's burgers. The burger renaissance in Melbourne continues. I thought it would have died out like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago at least. It started. When did the whole burger thing start here? I don't know. A long time ago, maybe as long as 10 years ago. Certainly more than, I think it started more than 5 years ago. The sort of the upmarket burger, the expensive boutique burger places. It's definitely more than 5 years ago. Might have been as much as 10 years ago. The whole burger renaissance started. And I expected it to sort of peak and go out years ago. But not new pizza places, although new pizza places open all the time. New burger places open all the time. Like in the city, in the CBD of Melbourne, I reckon I'd have to count them up. But straight off the top of my head, I think of half a dozen burger places. And if I think for a bit longer, I'd come up with another half dozen. God knows, there's probably, and then if you start to count the pubs that all do burgers, you're up to, just in the CBD, at least 20 or 30 places where you can get a burger for lunch. Fox used to like grilled. Well, grilled is not bad at all, but it's like a chain. I'm thinking about places that don't really count as a chain, but grilled is cheaper than most of these places. Yeah, but I'm thinking about the places where when you start getting really, swanky burgers, they're like $15 for a burger. They tend to start at $6 to $8 for a simple one, and then when you get into their real specialty gourmet ones, you're like $15 and up for a burger. Although if it's sit down in a pub, they can even be more. It can be $20. But yeah, Natalie, fish and chip certainly does crap burgers. I have to admit, I still have a weakness if you find one of the traditional fish and chip shops that does a good burger, just the old school burger, like nothing fussy. They whack the fucking meat patty on a grill and you get a bun that has salad in it, it's like tomato and lettuce and beetroot and cheese. And I'll almost always get bacon on it as well. You know, tomato sauce, like no pretension. If you find a place that does a good one, like a truck stop burger can be really good, can be really toxic as well. Oh my God, just randomly, that just made me think there is this truck stop. It's down in, it's like in Docklands. But in the non-populated area of Docklands, where the overpasses for the motorways are, and it's just like this place where trucks stop, and the burger place, it's like in a refitted shipping container, and you drive past it. It's like off the road and under the underpass, and it's a refitted shipping container that they do burgers in. And I was going past it with AZ and going, no, man, that's where you fucking organise murders. Like, you don't go there to eat food. You go there to find a hitman. There's like nothing that isn't criminal happens there. There's drug deals. There's probably human trafficking. There's definitely contract hits. Or you just look at it and go, nothing good happens there. I'll have to take like a picture of it one day or a video and show it just to get the vibe of it. Because you just see this thing and it's just off the side of the road under an underpass and you just go, oh, fucking nothing good happens there. Nothing good. Oh, I'm going to get the last piece of pizza. There's one last piece there. Young Mr. Angry comes out and goes, I'm still hungry. Where's the rest of the pizza? It's gone, dude. It's gone. No, Shoka, I still haven't seen the Rogan interview with Yang. I might watch it. I don't really have a lot of time for Rogan. But yeah, you know, if he's just letting Yang talk, be interesting. Oh, I think it will be interesting when the Democrats cull that ridiculously huge field down to, I don't know, half a dozen. I'd be very interested to see who the final half dozen, then, you know, the last four, and then down to the wire. Because you get big surprises, because you look at like the Republican crowd, you know, that Trump beat, and there were, you know, 4 or 5 that had all the smart money on them, and Trump just swept them aside. Like Jeb Bush, Jeb Bush was the Republican equivalent of Joe Biden. The really conservative, traditional people say he's the obvious choice. He's the one that, and he fucking failed spectacularly. And Biden hasn't flamed out yet, but I really think he would be a fucking terrible candidate. He'd be fucking awful. I think he's going to flame out, but who knows? Weird things happen. Good call, Justin. Important life lesson: never leave food in front of your father. It's a very big mistake, especially if your father's a fat bastard like me. This Fox station: Biden and Warren are making a dent. A dent in what? What do you mean by that? I mean, while I'm saying I think Biden will flame out, and I think he's a terrible candidate, I'm not ruling him out by any stretch of the imagination. That would be crazy. Making a lot of progress, yeah. But you look at the, if you looked at who's considered front runners on the Democrat side now, the really serious ones are Warren and Biden and Harris and Sanders. If someone pressed me to say who are the top four, I'd say they're the most likely top four. But wild shit happens. Anything could happen to any of them. Maybe Pete Buttigieg picks up. Maybe Andrew Yang picks up. That's a very, 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 very long shot. Who else is a long shot who might do it? Oh, the crazy hippie lady. She's an incredibly long shot, but she would also be a terrible candidate. But who knows? And who's the other woman candidate who fucking nailed Kamala Harris at one point on a record? Can't keep track of them all. Too many of them. Got to cull them to at least half. I mean, I want to really get down to like 6 or less. Now, you want the final four to have a person of color? Well, Kamala Harris is a really strong establishment candidate. So she stands a really good choice. She's a fucking cop. I don't like her. But the establishment really like Kamala Harris. Because the establishment fucking like cops. But yeah. If I was to bet, and I'll say straight up, there's a really strong chance this bet is very, very wrong. But I would bet the final four would be Harris, Biden, Sanders, and Warren. That would be my bet. But fuck, man, anything could happen. It will be interesting if Sanders gets down to the final two again, because I'm not a huge Sanders fan. But Jesus, at least he'd shake things up. I mean, policy-wise, I probably lean more towards Elizabeth Warren, but again, and Sanders fans in particular have made legitimate calls on the shortcomings of Elizabeth Warren, mainly that she's much more establishment than Sanders. But I don't know, there's just something where I'm not completely on board with Sanders, but at least he'd make it interesting if he got in. I would be fascinated to see the results of Trump and Sanders going head to head. But there's no guarantee Trump will even run again. He could still drop dead. He's old and incredibly unfit and under a lot of stress. He could easily drop dead with no warning. I love the mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, who's gone so hard on abusing Trump recently. He's gone and said he just sees worse and worse things happening for Trump in the next 6 months. And he went out and made the radical prediction. He reckons, I think he said March next year, but he reckons Trump will drop out. Trump will say he isn't going to run for re-election. And I think he said March next year. He reckons Trump will pull out, which was just, he's just shit stirring. He's absolutely shit stirring. But man, who knows? Who absolutely knows? And I agree with you, Justin. If you put Sanders in Australian politics, he doesn't seem radical at all. It's just American politics is so frigging conservative. It's wild. Oh yes, so that was another fun story from the week. One of the more famous Koch brothers popped his clogs, like ding dong, the witch is dead. People think, why are you celebrating someone dying? That's terrible. Why would you celebrate that? Why would I celebrate someone who's been subverting democracy and the global economy for decades why would I celebrate someone who's virtually the embodiment of evil being gone? I don't know. I don't know why I'd celebrate that. That's weird. Yes, look, Natalie, you're certainly not the only one to raise the point that the establishment Democrats fucking hate Sanders. If he got the nomination, who the fuck knows what they do to subvert it? If they put some real fucko in as an independent, if they prefer a Republican to win than Sanders to win, that's distinctly possible. But you know, who freaking knows? Sanders has got a huge fucking groundswell, I think, and all the angry young white guys would have someone besides Trump to vote for. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows indeed? Yes, feelings related to that. There's that super weird thing, and it's not just in the US, but it's most extremely in the US. It's like this establishment idea that you can't criticize the actions of the state of Israel or the Israeli military, or you're anti-Semitic and you're an enemy of Israel. It's like, no, you have to be able to criticize any governments in particular, but also any political figure, without someone doing some dumb shit about your just a bigger. And yes, obviously there are people who rail against Israel who are horrifically anti-Semitic. So it's absolutely true that some people criticize Israel just because they're anti-Semitic. But it boggles my mind that there are people who could say there's nothing to criticize in the state of Israel. That's wild. Adele, you've been doing your law studies again. What did you miss? Oh, just the usual. Talking about everything. The first hour was heavily dominated by Boris Johnson and the debacle in Brexit. But just now we've started talking about US presidential candidates. Maybe we should move on to Australia because there's been some dumb shit in Australian politics too. I'm going to look up. I'm going to see if I can get an inspiration for a cocktail because it is the halfway mark, and I do want to make a cocktail. Okay, here's fun. I'm just going to randomly search on Civil War cocktail and see what comes up. There is a cocktail called the Civil War. Ooh, it's not bad. It's not bad. Let's have a look. The Civil War, bourbon, vermouth, Cynar. What's Cynar? I don't know what that is. Cynar. Oh, it's a Campari. It's a bittersweet liqueur. Okay, I've got bitter liqueurs. It's made by the people who make Campari. And I've got some Aperol and I've got some other Italian things. So the Civil War cocktail. Here's another version of it. What's this one say? The Civil War, it's like a Manhattan. Yes, it is. Bourbon, vermouth, and Cynar. Wow, I'm always mildly interested when they have the same recipe for things. I'm gonna try this one. So, and I like a bourbon cocktail. Yeah, bourbon, vermouth, and Cynar, and bitters. And they're saying a cherry for garnish. I don't have any cherry. I don't need a garnish. Bourbon, vermouth, and a bitter liqueur, and some bitters. All right. That's a strong possibility. And this is, of course, in light of Boris Johnson. Oh my God, what's this gross one? Cherry vodka, blue curacao, and Malibu. Oh my God, that's fucking awful. That's a Captain America. Well, that's a strong choice. Here's a fun one. I'm going to look up Parliament. Is there a cocktail called the Parliament? Looking for inspiration. Fuck off. Okay, there's a bunch of cocktail bars called Parliament. But wait a sec, this seems to be a cocktail called the Parliament. What's this? The Parliament cocktail. Womp womp womp. What the fuck? It's a table. What? That's so weird. Okay, there doesn't appear to be an actual cocktail. There are lots of cocktail bars called the Parliament around the world. Track Jack Parliament. Jack Daniels, Southern Comfort, and gin and Coke. No, that's gross. I think maybe a Civil War cocktail. The Butters Johnson cocktail, a BJ. There are cocktails called a blowjob, of course. Ah, Adele, you want to go into criminal law? So this is Civil War cocktail, a bourbon. I haven't made a bourbon cocktail for a while. Put in a nice martini glass. Bourbon, vermouth, and a bitter liqueur. Which bitter liqueur will I make? I've got Punta Mez and I've got Aperol and I've got Fernet Branca. I made something with Fernet Branca for a while. I think I might do Fernet Branca. All right, I'm going to make Civil War in honor of Butters Johnson being the first person to suspend the British Parliament since James I caused a civil war. So I'm going to have a Civil War cocktail. So I'll just have to get my cocktail shaker and measure it in a glass. So excuse me, let's go grab things. Is it in the dishwasher? It's in the dishwasher. Alrighty. Everything was in the dishwasher. Alright. Oh, methodical me. I put everything in the dishwasher after Tuesday night. That's pretty good. And my filter. That's not what I thought that was. Okay, what ifs? What ifs? Oh, where's the filter thingy? Man, why is this doing this to me? I'm assuming you can still hear me while I do this. Alright, this is going to be a strong cocktail, actually. It'll be a bit interesting. Add some ice in to dilute it. Some ice. Some bourbon. Giant Costco bottle of bourbon. Vermouth. Bitters. What bitters will I put in? Angostura, chocolate, cola bitters? I might try cola bitters, actually, just for something a bit different. Bitters made from cola nut. Okay. What does this taste like? Cola bitters. Oh, I like that, Nook. A Captain America spoof song. When corporate America throws its mighty shield, then all the little guys must yield. Get hit by the booty of mighty Wall Street and better not complain because they get beat. Corporate America throws their mighty shield. I like that, actually. Okay. I'm going to try this cola bitters. What does it taste like? It tastes bitter first time. Yeah, I can taste the cola nut in it. All right. Yeah, I'm going to put that in. Okay. So, a Civil War. Why did I close that tab? Civil War cocktail. Civil War. So we're going go away with the fucking pop-ups. 1.5 bourbon and then half. All right. Let's do this thing. Okay, some bourbon. Bourbon. Put that over there. All right. Now I'm doing half measures of vermouth, and in my case, Fernet Branca, because I don't have cyanide. It's a weird thing when you get into cocktails. There are so many weird ingredients. I was talking to someone who works at a place called the Bitters Lab. I was actually buying a couple of things for them. They have probably hundreds of different sorts of bitters in there, and they have a few other specialty cocktail things and books and whatnot. And she was actually the daughter of the people who own the place. Normally, I think other times I've been in there, I think her mum's been in there. But we had a jolly good chat, and she showed me a photo of their home bar, and it's freaking amazing. That was it. I had how many different spirits have I haven't counted it. So I'm going to count this empty bottle of Kraken because I only emptied it on Tuesday night. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. We go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33. Look, I've basically got about 40 different flavored spirits and liqueurs here. There you go. Costco. Sorry, Adele. You don't know how Costco is for booze pricing. You don't get South Australia because laws don't permit grocery stores to sell alcohol. The big bottles at Costco, like they have these big 1.75 litre bottles, they're cheaper by volume than other chain stores. Civil War. Chilled. I like that misfoxification. They should rename that cheap, nasty cider Boris Brexit because it's so nasty. Oh my God, I saw a story this week, speaking of nasty cider type products. There's the infamous product in Australia called Little Fat Lamb. And it's a cider base, and they sell it in cans, but like they also sell it in these like 12, 50 ml bottles that can be as cheap as $6 or $7 depending where you get it. And it's like 8% alcohol. So one of these bottles that's $6 or $7 is at least half a dozen standard drinks, I think. Somewhere between 4 and 6 standard drinks. I forget how much is in. So it's like, and they're like flavored ciders. They're clearly aimed at teenagers. And it's just deadly. And I saw a story this week. There is apparently a variant of Little Fat Lamb with guarana, aka caffeine, in it, which sounds incredibly dangerous. So that's a Civil War cocktail. I don't have a cherry for a garnish. I'm not really into garnishes, to be fair. If you like bitter cocktails, that's a pretty good one. It's got a good flavor. I like variation in cocktails. Like a lot of people go like you know, oh, cocktails like sugar water. A real man doesn't drink. And lots of cocktails are quite sweet. But it's the joy of cocktails. You get a spectrum of tastes, and it's just like, I don't like really bitter. Like, there's a really popular cocktail called the Negroni that I really fucking hate because it's like a Campari's at centerpiece and it's too bitter. But this, I think it's bitter, but that's good for a variation as well. To have slightly bitter. Negronis are really popular and trendy, and so you get all these variations of it, and you go like, okay, I know you used to like Negronis, but these guys are doing it a bit different. Maybe I like this. And it's like, no, fuck you, Campari. I really don't like drinks based on Campari. It's gross. I don't. That's of the of the 40 flavors of spirits and liqueurs I have there. Campari isn't one of them. There is Aperol, which is like Campari's milder cousin, and this one, Fernet Branca, that's a bitter one, and there's another bitter Italian liqueur over there called Puntamez. So I'm not complete, and I have bitters, flavoring agents. So I'm not averse to bitter flavors in a cocktail, but I mean, Campari is taking it too far. So, Adele, you confirming it? Yes. Supermarkets can't sell booze; they have to have a separate shop. It's kind of like the Coles and Woolworths here. They have often have a bottle shop next to them, not actually in the supermarket. It's next to them. But yes, Costco here, the booze is just in because Costco is a huge fucking cavernous warehouse, and the booze is just in there. What's funny about Costco to me, the big bottles, like, okay, a normal bottle of the most common size of the big bottle of spirits you get from a bottle shop is 700 mils or 750 mils. Costco have these ones, which are 1.75 liters, and they're cheaper by volume than even a cheap place like Dan Murphy's because they're bigger. But you can also say they sometimes have novelty ones. Like they've got this giant fucking Grey Goose bottle, which I'm sure I posed on Instagram with once. I forget how many liters, it's like 7 liters. I think it's 7 liters. It's this monstrously huge novelty bottle of Grey Goose vodka. And that's actually more expensive than buying 7 1 liter bottles. It's because you're paying for the novelty of this giant fucking bottle. So it's like, yeah, the 1.75 liter bottles are cheaper by volume than the 700 ml bottles, but the huge novelty bottles are more expensive because they're a novelty. The trivia. Yes, I've saying in Europe, there's alcohol inside the actual supermarket. Also in America, in the supermarkets in America, there is alcohol right in. You want to skull it. See, I'm not into alcohol abuse. I don't get sick. So this, holy shit, when this is full, this is 51 standard drinks. What's that? That's like about a third. Was that a third? One, sure. Yeah, it's still about a third of the bottle. Like, you know, this is fucking year's supply for me. It's still about a third of the bottle. So it's 15. Yes, if you scold that, which volume-wise is possible. But yes, if you suddenly scold 15 standard drinks, there is a reasonable chance of alcohol poisoning. At the very least, you get very sick, probably throw up and have a terrible headache. I am not into binge drinking. I don't do shots as a rule. My goal is not to get unconscious, drunk, and sick. I like getting drunk. Like I'm just having this one tonight, but you know, tomorrow, Friday night, Saturday night, end of the fucking week, man. I'll probably have I'll probably have at least 3. So by the time I go to bed, I will be pleasantly inebriated. I don't get shit faced drunk. I definitely get drunk. Like you don't want to fucking be operating heavy machinery after a couple cocktails, but as I don't, as a rule, get hangovers or get sick because I don't drink that much. You know, sometimes more than others. Like sometimes it's like, I mean, I feel like I've got the stage like, okay, that's enough. No. And probably in the last 10, yeah, I reckon in the last 10 years, I've only misjudged twice and had a couple of more drinks than I should have and thrown up afterwards. I reckon twice. I can remember the 2 times distinctly. It's like I just misjudged and probably had 2 strong drinks more than I should have. And you can get away with 1 more than you should have, but it's like 2 more than you should have. And it's like, oh, fuck. Because that's when it's like, because it takes a while for the alcohol to go through your system. And that's when you continue to get more drunk for the next half hour to hour after you last had a drink, because it's working its way through your system. That's when you're fucked up. It's like, no, I feel okay, but you're still half an hour away from all the alcohol hitting you, and you drink more alcohol. That's when it fucks you. Sorry, always loving supper. I threw up last week. Oh gosh, Justin, I saw the second half. Adele wondering how you saw it. When you work for Woolworths, someone stole a massive novelty champagne bottle as $500 to $1,000. Yeah, it's the thing. Like Adele, if they stole, I reckon they didn't hide it. They literally just walked out with it. That's what people do sometimes. There's a bar in Melbourne that I still have to go to. I might go. Not this weekend. I'm not going out this weekend, but I will be going out the following weekend, and I might do it in the city. There's a Viking-themed bar called Mjolnir, named after Thor's hammer, and they have a Thor's hammer-shaped bottle on their bar thing, and some guys stole it one time, but they basically knew who it was, and they publicized it on social media, and the guys knew they'd been rumbled, and the bar got their very limited edition Mjolnir hammer decanter back. It was like, you know, the place had surveillance cameras, and when they realized it was stolen, they knew exactly who had done it, because it wasn't shifty young blokes, it was these businessmen, you know, like really fucking entitled, self-important guys in suits. And so basically, as soon as they realized someone had stolen the bottle, they knew exactly who it was. And they just put their pictures up on social media and said, "You motherfucker stole Mjolnir." And yeah, I think they were from out of town. They might have been from Adelaide, Adele. They might have been from your town. It might be your fault. I think they actually were from Adelaide. They were from out of town, but it was obvious who'd done it, and they put their photos on social media. And yes, they got the bottle back. But yeah, it's just, you know, drunk dickheads in suits, basically. Oh, so your one, Justin, the bottle was in a crate behind the counter. Yeah, when the counter person wasn't looking, they just took it. There's the thing, like, whereas often when people steal stuff from shops, you know, they are putting it under their jumper or whatever and trying to get out. But a lot of people just fucking walk out with shit. Just gonna walk straight out. I think. Was that? Oh, right, sorry, yes. I know what you're referencing. Deutsche Bank has been saying something. They've got Trump's tax records or something. They're going to make them public. Yeah, Donny would be very upset with Deutsche Bank. Someone exposing his fucking lies about A, how much money he does, or more pertinently, doesn't have. B, about how much tax he's been dodging. C, about how compromised he is because of money he's been getting from fucking Russian oligarchs. But anyway. Is that a real thing, Miss Foxification? Yakuza 7 announced? ditches action combat for JRPG. Oh, I'm not sure I'd go for that. I played Yakuza 0 and really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed learning the fight moves and then getting into street fights. Role-playing stuff is not turn-based role-playing. Like, my kids are really into turn-based role-playing games. And I can see the appeal. But I think I favor more the action-based combat rather than the turn-based role-playing combat. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own thing. I mean, hey, I'm excited that I think it's like next month Borderlands 3 comes out. I'm looking forward to that. It's looking good. I was looking because there's an ad for it on Facebook, and it's like oh, all these extra stuff, buy it, with the extra skins and DLC and whatnot. And ooh, what's that? And I clicked on it to advance order. It was like $130, and I was like, fuck no. I can actually wait till the price goes down. That's a useful bit of information for anyone going to Crimea. Thanks, Safa. Can't use MasterCard. You have to take cash. Yes, it is a bit of a switch. No, Final Fantasy goes beat 'em up and Yakuza goes JRPG. Yes. Oh, okay. That was from a YouTube vid, Miss Hawkscation. They're saying they're changing. Well, look, I honestly think they probably know what they're doing. I wouldn't second guess the people making the game. I think they've probably made a really engaging system. But for instance, it was like Yakuza 0, you had your two different characters you played in the different cities, and there was the one dude, and he made all his money and you did all your leveling up by conquering the real estate market in that city. And the other dude was running hostess clubs, and you raised all your money and leveled up by building up the hostess clubs. And I was like really quite advanced with the guy with the real estate market before I even started with the other guy in the hostess clubs. And I could just never wrap my head around the mechanism for the hostess clubs. And it fucking did my head in. So I never really advanced the hostess club thing at all. And I got to the very top of the real estate. And yes, no, I did get the chicken financial advisor in Yakuza 0. The sense of humor in Yakuza, I love it. It's just so funny. It's just so silly. They manage, while being a quite violent fighting game, they managed to put in this incredibly silly sense of humor. So that lack of self-consciousness to be able to put a really silly sense of humor in really appeals to me. So yes, I enjoyed them. But I love those type of games. Like I liked Yakuza 0, Mafia 3, Grand Theft Auto 5, and all that. It's less violent, but it's broadly, open world adventure game. Zelda Breath of the Wild was fucking brilliant. Mrs. Angry's playing Red Dead Redemption 2 now. I definitely want to play that at some point. So, but it's a trouble, man. If I play games, I won't do anything else. So I have to put real effort into not playing too many games because I won't do anything else. Oh, Safi, you saw Scummo and his other ministers playing thing. Yes, no, I'd be worried my body language would give me around if I was around fucking Liberal ministers. The tension of wanting to fuck them up. Yeah. Adele, Red Dead Redemption 2, aka Barbie Horse Adventures for boys. Justin, my kids play Civ 6. I don't think so. Actually, Mrs. Angry's son loves Civ and SimCity type games. He even designs levels for some of them. He's quite into it. My offspring are very much into the team combat games. I'm not even sure which ones they're playing now, but you know, they did them all. They played Fortnite for a while, and not Dota, and I think they change every couple of months whatever game it is they're playing, but they do like the online team-based combat games. What was the event? Was it Tim Fisher's funeral you're talking about? Where all these political luminaries were? God, I think actually these days, I think I'd be more fucking tempted to be obnoxious and aggressive towards Albanese than anyone in the Liberal Party, because Albanese is just so fucked. He's so fucking pathetic. Oh my God, I didn't think anyone could make me miss the days of Bill Shorten as Labor leader. But Albanese's fucking managing it, which is literally the exact opposite of what I would have expected. I thoroughly expected to like Albanese more as leader than fucking Shorten, but here we are. So you were the cattle in the side room. I understand. Yes. Just you saw Howard. My favourite thing about Howard is when he was Prime Minister, there was that incident where he's going for one of his power walks, and some young guy who decided he wanted to hug John Howard just ran up and hugged him. And yeah, there was some federal police jogging along with Howard, but they were so ineffectual they didn't stop this young lad from hugging Howard. And that was one thing, but the guy wasn't even conscious of it. He'd been working, so he had a screwdriver in his hand. So he actually hugged grabbed the Prime Minister with a fucking stabbing weapon in his hand. And the feds didn't stop him. Oh, Australia, never change. What is that? Yes, Miss Fox. Who would have ever thought they'd say the US would be better off with Bush Jr.? But see, this is the thing. Trump winds us up just because he's so obnoxious, and he breaks standards of behavior, and he is awful. He's absolutely awful, and he is enacting terrible, terrible, terrible policies. But yeah, we must remember that W did start the illegal war on false pretenses that killed over 1 million people, and Cheney and his cronies siphoned off trillions of dollars in dodgy deals. It's just absolutely, absolutely stunning. What Bush and Cheney got away with. Absolutely mind-blowing. Oh, yeah, that's right. We are now, Trump's now trying to fucking start a war with Iran. Because Trump has surrounded himself with really deranged people who've been arguing for fucking decades that we should launch military strikes on Iran, which is fucking insane and suicidal. With Trump, it is literally impossible to know what's going to happen. the world in general, though, I mean, you know, what are humans even? It's like we have a limitless capacity for doing stupid things. Yeah, and God, I really think if you think about it too much, it gets very overwhelming. There's so much at both the micro and macro level, where you go, like at the macro level, we're going to die because of global warming. And we're just making it worse. We're not only not addressing the problem, we're not fighting it, we're not reducing the risk. We are doing a succession of things that make it worse when we already know we're basically fucking doomed. We actually do a succession of things to accelerate it, like, oh, and then there's just all things, the various things of war and violence and terrorism around the world, war within nations, war between nations, and then you just go down to the micro levels. Like I was mentioning earlier about listening to this podcast of the history of fascism in America, and that's really overwhelming. That the problem is that bad and always has been that bad, and continues to be that bad. It's absolutely freaky, and yeah, we just don't know. So what was that misfoxication? If we want to be overwhelmed, Google blue sky event. Why not? Blue ocean event. All right. The Arctic will be ice-free. Okay, let's depress ourselves. The blue ocean event and collapsing ecosystems. It's highly probable the Arctic will no longer have sea ice, meaning zero sea ice for the first time in eons, aka the blue ocean event. They're saying it'll destroy agriculture, and it could be worse than that. The concept of it is controversial within the scientific community. I'm not surprised. So, 40 years, yes, it's all bad, it's all bad, it's all bad. Arctic's a hothouse, yes. IPCC says we're fucked, yes. Critical question, what happens next? What happens when the sea ice is gone? Refrigerator events, lost in the ocean event, water temperatures not pegged to freezing point. Only major source of ice remaining will be Greenland. Yeah, but we all know Greenland's fucked at the moment, actually. It'll fuck up the weather patterns, yes. Jet streams may go bonkers. I've heard that theory before. Records, yeah, so saying extreme weather, yes. Panic within a decade, yes, okay. 16C increase in temperatures, yikes. Yep, okay, no, that's pretty depressing. That's pretty depressing and overwhelming, quite honestly. Hey, Megaleech, how are you going, Daniel? Yes, it is Waterworld. It is Waterworld, basically. You had a games night. One against Obsidian. Safa, Mimsy was here earlier. Mimsy put on quite a show earlier. Forced me to give her lots and lots and lots of scratches. And then she'd apparently had enough and moved on. So I don't know where she is now. She's moved on. So, not that this is the strongest cocktail I've ever made. I mean, obviously there's a full measure of bourbon in there, but the vermouth's only half. Like bourbon's 40%. See, the vermouth's only 15%. I'm being a lightweight tonight. What's the Fernet Branca? Oh, it's 40%. So this, I don't know, this is like 2-3 standard drinks. Look, what's happened to England? No one knows. No one knows. So how's AZ? Well, I did get to hang out with AZ on the weekend. Went to White Night, which sort of in specifics was, or in general, was a disappointment. Though they really fucked it up. But we did see some good installations. I posted a lot of live video on my Facebook feed on Saturday night of different installations. As soon as we found, with a small group of YouTube friends, as soon as we found out there was a Mad Max Fury Road performance, oh, we're going to that. It was in Carlton Gardens. That was pretty cool. So we saw a couple things, and it was fun hanging out. AZ survived the night so much better than I thought he would, because he walked. I mean, I started down at Fed Square and then walked up to Melbourne Central to meet him. He came in on the train to Melbourne Central. We hung out there for a while. Then we went to the State Library. There was the usual really impressive laser projection projection show inside the State Library. Posted a bit of video about that. Then we walked to Carlton Gardens, saw a few things around there, including the Mad Max Fury Roadshow. And then we walked back down through town and walked him down to Flinders Street station. And he survived quite early. He went home at about, I know it was after midnight. And I went, oh, no. I think he actually went home before midnight. And I was hanging out with Brian, who comes in the chat reasonably often. He's not here tonight. But I went and had a drink with Brian at this, there's a Peruvian pisco-themed bar that had a cocktail I quite like, a pisco sour. Like I said, a whiskey sour is one of my favorite cocktails. A pisco sour is a Peruvian equivalent. Pisco is it's fortified wine, so it's not a whiskey. It's like a brandy. It's a clear brandy, and I had a drink, and they have this really neat bar snack. It's this weird sort of dry roasted corn kernels. So it's not popcorn and it's not corn kernels, but it's really light and crispy and it's really yummy. So that, yeah, then we went back to Birring Mah. There was like an acrobatic show at midnight, saw that, and then that ran for a while. And then, so I don't know, it was somewhere around 12:30 to 1 when I decided to go home. I got home at about 1:30, I suppose. So yeah, like AZ lasted till, not that far off midnight, and he was much. Yeah, no, it's not corn nuts, Megalich. Corn nuts, in my experience, are really hard, and these aren't hard. They're quite light and crunchy. Apparently it's a very specific Peruvian snack. Corn nuts are an American thing, and they're very hard. And these, I forget the name for them, but these Peruvian corn kernel snacks aren't hard. They're actually really quite light and crunchy. Oh God, they're good. They're just a little bit different. They're really good. But yes, broadly, I think they managed to completely fuck White Night up this year. For those who don't know, I've posted videos about it in the past. This thing ran for a couple of years in Melbourne. It was a festival, and it revolved around light shows. It was called White Night. And for the first couple of years, it was in late summer, and ran all night. For one night, like on a Saturday night, it ran like till dawn. All these different art installations. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It ran all night, and there was all these building projection going on. And this year they ran it over 3 nights: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday and Friday it only ran till midnight, and Saturday it went till 2 a.m. And there really seemed to be like only a quarter as many installations as the previous years. I think they really fucked up. I looked up that thing. You described it at the corn snack. Is Foxification Concha. I don't think that's quite it. Yeah, it's not quite that. It's in the same ballpark, but it's not quite that. Yes, Safa. I know what you mean about regional areas. I grew up in regional New South Wales. Yeah, regional Vic, no nightlife. It's a bit sad. It's a bit sad. The lack of entertainments in regional areas. It's like feeling like a lightweight. I'm not plastered, obviously, but I feel a little bit drunk off a single cocktail. And I think legally, I probably would be over the legal. I mean, I wouldn't choose to drive now, but like I said, I think this is about 3 standard drinks, maybe, which in 1 hour is enough to put you over the. I reckon, yeah. I feel like for fun, I should get like a home breathalyzer. Find out how drunk I am when I sit around making myself cocktails. But yeah, I think this would have put me over the legal limit, actually. Whether it is even if I wasn't drinking, I wouldn't be driving anywhere at this time of night. No reason to. But yes, don't binge drink, kids. Not cool. Not funny. Yeah. Oh wow, Safi used to do a 2-hour drive to Melbourne for football and stuff. Jesus. That's okay. I was thinking when Mrs. Angry and I do date night, often we just go now like a common thing we do is drinks or dinner and movies. Drinks and dinner and movies. And there's a couple of good places. We have a couple of good independent cinemas around here, like within a couple of suburbs. That we got a couple of choices, and there's good places for dinner near the cinemas. And we occasionally experiment with new places, which is good. Sometimes we just go to there's the Gold Class, the Village. Go down like Chapel Street, Jam Factory, and we used to go because they built a bar next to the Gold Class in the Village Cinema Complex there. But that bar actually just got progressively more shit over a couple of years. And a while back, we decided there must be somewhere else nearby. And I just looked nearby cocktail bars, and there was one straight across the road from the cinema that's really good. So a couple of times now, we've gone to that particular bar. What's its name? It's got into my head. I'm going to look it up because it's just across the road. Katuk, as I say, it's got some Southeast Asian name. It's called Katuk, and oh my god, I don't know if they took that. They're from the famous ad where the middle-aged Australian lady has a South Pacific romance with an islander named Katuk. I think that's where they got the name from. So sometimes we go. There's a couple independent cinemas. One of them is next to like my favorite Indian restaurant, which is nice to go to. There's another one. I would take a choice. There's a Polish restaurant, an Italian, and a Mexican, and there's a couple other bars around it. So that's a good night out. But when the comedy festival was on this year, Mrs. Angry and I went out a few times. We're going, let's go see some shows and we'll get some dinner and get some cocktails between shows. And we found a couple of new places that I quite liked. Yeah, if you ever want tips of cocktail bars in Melbourne City, I've got some tips for you. if you want to be a real trendy wanker, there's this little hidden one called Bar Americana. That's a good one. Found one during the comedy festival called the Trinket Bar, which is quite good. There's that Peruvian one I was telling you about, Pisco Bar. They do good food as well. And I want to go to, I still haven't been to Mjolnir, the Viking themed bar. So not this weekend, but next weekend, we might be going into the city for a day night, might do a bit of bar hopping, might finally check out Mjolnir because Mjolnir does food as well as drink. But you will be public transporting if we do that. Fortunately, our home is fairly well serviced by public transport, both tram and train. Because you can have a couple of drinks, don't want to be driving back from that. That's a bit much. So might do a city date. Not this weekend, this weekend. This weekend's an at-home weekend. There's the Angry Bar will be open. I might finally get it together to start my cocktail channel. Start a new YouTube channel specifically about cocktails, which is a fairly overcrowded market on YouTube. There are a couple of very good cocktail channels on YouTube. It wouldn't be a case of competing with them. It'd just be doing something that I think is fun. I've got a day job. I just need to do something that's fun. But yeah, maybe do cocktails on YouTube and Instagram just for fun. Be meaning to do that for a while. Yes, just do down market dirty cocktails. Maybe. I don't know. That's a good point. Most Foxifications, spring on the way. There'll be nice outdoor evenings for drinks and whatnot. Oh, the train line shut down again this weekend again, Music Havana. As we're sacrificing for our glorious new city circle construction. It's worth it. You know, a couple months of intermittent disruptions for once in a lifetime infrastructure upgrade. I think we can suffer through it. We're all tough. So if you do craft beer, see, I don't drink beer. I don't like beer, and I don't like wine. That's the thing. I just do cocktail live streams with super chats. I demonetized my YouTube channel when I realized all the grief that was happening with the YouTube shit. I didn't even want to deal with it, so I just voluntarily demonetized my channel. So you can't do super chats unless you're monetized. So this is a cocktail live stream. What are you talking about? Most of the time it's a cocktail live stream. I do a cocktail in the second half. But I think I get what you're saying. If I had a live stream that was all about cocktails and I made a couple, that would be fun, definitely. No, I'm going to avoid the episode 9 news like you did episode as much as possible. I don't want spoilers. I did like the little teaser that came out this week. And I thought, oh my God, it's 4 months till the movie comes out. It's just 4 months of fucking with us. Because there was that hint of, oh my God, is Rey going Sith? And it's just like, yeah, if Rey was going Sith, there's no way they'd tell us in advance. That's a mind fuck. That's like I don't know, a dream sequence or she's just not Sith despite having a red lightsaber or whatever. I don't know. But that's just a fuck with us, which I love. I actually really love them fucking with us. But yes, when they showed the little teaser with just tiny little context-free grabs, and you saw Leia, it's like, oh my God, they've put Carrie Fisher in it. They find a way to do a farewell to Carrie. I'm gonna cry. I know. I'm definitely gonna all tear up on Carrie being on screen. Oh no, you've seen the poster had Kylo on the high ground. See, again, there's 3 possibilities of that the people who designed that shot that had Kylo on the high ground, it didn't even occur to them that that was a call back to the Anakin Obi-Wan fight. Second, it is foreshadowing of something bad happening. Third, which I think is the most likely, they're fucking with us. When I saw that preview, and again, you know, the fucking suggestion that Rey might go Sith, I just went, they're fucking with us. And they're going to spend the next 4 months fucking with us. And more power to them, honestly. I think it's really funny. But yes, I think on opening day, assuming I'm working, because I might not be, I might be on holidays because I'm working at a university at the moment and they might shut down at that point of year. So I might involuntarily be on holidays when Star Wars opens. But if I'm working, I'll do what I did for the last couple Star Wars movies. I didn't do it for Solo because I wasn't that interested in it, but I did it for episodes 7 and 8 and Rogue One. I went to a very early morning session before going to work. Like I went to like a 5 or 6 a.m. showing on the first night and then went to work after it, which was very disorienting, I must admit, being in a dark cinema, because I went to fucking IMAX for the last couple, being in a dark IMAX with a giant screen for a couple of hours and then going out and it's like sunrise. And yeah, that was quite a surreal experience, quite honestly. But having said that, it looks like bedtime. For all good boys and girls, and even naughty boys and girls should also go to bed. So that covers all bases. So I'm definitely going to bed. Oh, hot damn, Loogie. Just in time to say goodbye, you woke up from a 16-hour sleep. That is, man, if you do a 16-hour sleep, you really needed it. That's a win. I'm gonna, dude, I'm officially on board with a 16-hour sleep. If you had a 16-hour sleep, you needed it, and that is a major win. That's worth feeling good about. A 16-hour sleep, I like it. I do that occasionally. But I'm gonna have a standard kind of 8-hour sleep now, because my alarm goes off at 6:15. You get to work. I'm working in a very flexible workplace. I get in before 8, and I usually leave not long after 4, and they're okay. So I'm putting in a full day. I get some quiet time. I get half an hour to an hour in the morning before anyone else gets in, so I can get a shit ton of work done because no one's bugging me. So yeah. This Voxication, you think someone made another fan video about you? You may be right. I might have to search the YouTubes and see what's what. But look after yourself, one and all. I hope you have a good time. Look after yourself. And I will see you again soon. But I will say bye for now. Bye-bye, everyone. I don't know how long this takes to go.